Okay.
Action.
Oh, hey, I'm Corey. Welcome to Magneticore's Let's Talk. Today we're talking about the human journey. And before we get rolling, I just want to do a couple of introductions. The Magneticore coaches in the room. Say, introduce yourselves. Hi, I'm Corey.
I am Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
I am Kim.
Right on. Cool. We definitely have a bunch of other really cool people in our circle with us today. I see that there's a lot of the Magnetic Mind certified coaches. There's a bunch of people from that school of thought joining us here today. We have some returning guests, and we have a whole bunch of new people in the room with us. So people from all over the globe are here with us today. So welcome home. A couple little protocols as we get going. If you'd all be so kind, we are recording this today. So if you wish to have your image recorded, please go ahead and keep your camera turned off. And then we will also know not to call on you at the end. And then also for some sound quality, if you'd all be so kind to keep your mics turned off until you're speaking, just to help us get the best recording that we can. Thank you for that. Today's topic, the human journey. This is pretty cool. This is something that we've all talked about, and we've done some pretty amazing preparation to get into this. The human journey, what is it? So this is the story of the human condition, the experience of being alive. The human journey is the path from innocence to hesitation to empowerment, or it's the path from pure creative spirit to wounded to back to pure creative spirit. Now, what are we talking about? Every one of us has the human journey in common. We all do it. We all start in the same place. We all find our hesitation in our wounding, and then we all figure out eventually come back from that, right? Even when we don't know, that's what's happening. It's the road we all take from arriving in sweet innocence when we were born to being wounded by individuation. There's a lot we're going to talk about. Individuation. The human experience of wounding or hesitation to use your power sets the stage to arrive at the wisdom to use your experience that created all of you. Now, wounding turns to wisdom at the arrival at the Wizard's Gate of Empowerment, where we put down our problem-solving identity in exchange for becoming the predominant creator of our lives. Laura, are you with us?
I do an intention.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, our intention today is to share and discuss the path of the human journey, to identify that we are all on this path, to spotlight where you might think you are now on that path, and shine a light on how our wounding becomes our wisdom and how we return to being a pure creative spirit. Chris Duncan has a quote from one of his talks that I just absolutely love. He says, "The riskiest investment on the planet is that you don't love your life now, thinking that sometime in the future, it will have been worth the risk." And so that's really what this is all about. I just think it's a perfect quote to set us on this journey today.
I love that, Lara. So I was just, we were talking about all of this and the benefits of teaching the human journey. Why are we even going there? What's in this story for us? And I'd like to ask you guys, are you aware that you are an ever-evolving, growing, and you're always creating? So with every thought, every breath, you're creating. You've always been doing that. So from what place in your mind and heart have you been creating up until now? So think about where it's been coming from. Are you coming from a place of reaction? Are you responding to the world around you? Maybe not in control? Is the world happening to you? Or are you coming from a place of creation, choosing your response to the world? in control of your experience. You choose and create a life you love. So the intellectual learning and the awareness of like where you are now on the path of the human journey, that's a really important piece of it, to just understand that it even is. And it gives you a little window into your own growth. So where do you see yourself on your path? And how do you know you're growing today? Are you seeing the possibility of letting go of your old identity of problem solving? Are you ready to exchange it for becoming the predominant creator in your life?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. The human journey. Here we go. All right, we're going to start breaking it down into pieces, right? And so the human journey, right at the very beginning of the human journey, boom, we arrive. We are pure creative spirit. Boom, we are here. And at this moment, we have it all. And we are loved, we're carried around, we're fed, and we are cared for, and we have all of our power, right? This boom, spark of life, we still have it all. And then sometime right after birth, individuation happens. All of a sudden, we step into the human experience. We collapse from all possibilities into the human form, right? Our first intelligence is a limited viewpoint, which is the human experience. The duality and polarization, hot, you have to have no hot so you can know cold. You have to know up so you can know down. You have to know good so you have to know bad. Understanding the human experience comes from duality and polarization. And then our emotions, our ability to feel emotions, develop before the intellect. Memory 2 kicks into place. Now we have and then our intellect kicks into gear. And our young intellectualization of our emotional experience, now we start thinking about our emotional journey. That's memory 3 kicks in. Now we have a very childish view and understanding of our experience. And now from here, these beliefs from our values and our emotions kick into place. And now this sets beliefs in motion that run well into our adulthood. We realize that we are now an individual. Our new knowledge is that we do not have it all. Now this is the beginning of the wounding. Our awareness of actions that get attention and validation, right? So we start going for more or less love. Also, there's an awareness of our actions that do not get attention. Are we going for more or less trouble? So it's are you a good boy or a bad boy? Are you a good girl or a bad girl? Like all of a sudden, how are you getting what you need from this childish point of view? Once again, now you're an individual. You're now alone. So at this point, we start to seek praise and validation from the masculine energies in our world. We also seek nurturing, acceptance, and love from the feminine energies in our world. And we learn to make it all personal because we know those are our young tools. So our mind makes up this belief structure to relieve this pain, this wounding, this we're trying to understand we're in, so things fall into place. I must ... in order to have ... So examples of that. I must be an achiever to get dad's love, or I must look after everyone to stay connected. Or maybe I must be naughty to get attention, or maybe I don't get any attention if I'm good. Or to be funny, I must be smart. It's these kinds of things, this exchange to get what we want and desire. So what beliefs and structures have you made up, or noticed in your circumstance to deal with this wounded pain from individuation? What is the reason for this? We learned to give our power away to get what we want.
That's exactly right. We become orientated to these beliefs and we move through the world through the lens of these limitations, which just has us in a problem-solving structure. We're stuck in our powerlessness in that problem orientation. As children, we learn to see the world through limitation, and now life is all about overcoming problems and finding ways to complete ourselves. It is like a child to problem solve. It's childish. And now we're just victims to circumstances. The sabotaging beliefs that we have collected along the way cause huge problems when it comes to creating a life we love. And there's an underlying structure that's just, running in the background all the time, and it drives all of our motivation to resolve and complete ourselves. We perceive rules of engagement to get what we want or to avoid pain. And we make up this structure to make sense of our experience. We make it up. And what do we trade it for? And with what? We wrestle with how we use our power to get what we want. We're always proving to ourselves and to the world that this is the way it is. It's like we need to make up what we believe is, true to play itself out in front of us so that we keep believing that it's true. We just keep reinforcing that it's true, and it happens again and again and again. And it's a learned setup. You can't achieve your goal, because if you were to actually succeed, then you would have to accept that you are worthy. And your former identity would be lost. We have this identity that we create around these beliefs, and it's solid and it wants to stay that way. So when we move towards something that isn't in alignment with that, even if we were to get there, our identity would say, nope, that's not a match. And then we can't stay there. So we have an identity conflict, and we end up in an oscillating pattern where we move towards things that we want, and then we move back. It's like we move towards something and then we get pulled back by this old identity. So our current reality is always in conflict with any desired outcome. Our current reality won't allow the desired choice. And we're powerless in this problem orientation. We never solve the negative beliefs about ourselves. We're caught in a loop. And the more you try to fix it, the worse it gets. We move, we get pulled back, and then, do that enough times and you sort of lose the motivation to keep doing that, right? It gets reinforced. So you cannot have what you desire now in any way, and you cannot bear the pain of that wound. So.
Right. So where are you on the path? Right. So we've got this map. Where are you at? And how does it stop you from getting a life you love? So think about what the conditional circumstances you have in your life. What do you have in place to get what you want? And ask yourself, are you denying the power in the present moment in exchange for a far out future perspective? For example, I can only have what I desire when. You're putting conditions on it. I can get that if I do that. I can get that when this happens. And always having it out in the future. That goal is out there. Do you see yourself chasing in that chasing mindset? It's a never-ending race. You never win. You're always chasing. And you'll find we replay our childhood wounding in adulthood. And you're trying to resolve it endlessly. You're trying to prove, okay, yes, I'm worthy. I'm good enough. I'm significant. I belong. I'm capable. I have to be perfect. I'm deserving. So those are all self-sabotaging behaviors and beliefs. And we've all done it. It's all those ideas, and that orientation is in all of us. And that is, in essence, that is the wounding of that individuation.
Oh, wow. Wow. So now here we are. We're wounded. We're in this cycle and we're figuring out what to do. We're in the trap, right? We're in the trap. We're creating from this old wounded identity with all the sabotage beliefs intact. No matter what happens, there is a belief that something is always better than this, better than where we're at right now in this world. We're stuck in a chronic dissatisfaction. Wow, whoa, those words, stuck in a chronic dissatisfaction. Suffering reinforces the belief structure to continue with change. I am broken, so I must fix myself. I seek a fix, and I always find more broken, right? You identify with any of these in your life now. Do you see this in your own world, in your tribe? These beliefs create that current reality, which is that oscillating structure. We're still in the loop. This is where I am. This is what I want. I go for what I want, and I get zapped right back to where I started. Most people are living in this oscillating structure. You want something, but you're not allowed to keep it. I am not good enough, so I do this thing to become good enough. You know, I need to study, so then I learn something. You repeat again and again and again. Your identity is never good enough. I can't accept the new thing. You get close to it, then you sabotage it. Once again, repeating and again, oscillating endlessly. Now you are addicted to this pattern. Now you've had lots and lots of practice in this pattern, this reinforced habit, often for years. And then the chemical dependency that happens with epigenetics, for example. We know that when we have an emotional experience, our brain releases a chemical into our body with that experience, then our body gets really used to having that experience. And now we depend on it. So that once again, hard to break a habit. Epigenetics, pretty cool. Sarah.
I think that's me.
Oh, it's Laura. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Corey, chronic dissatisfaction is just ringing in my ears. And I think, you know, as we go through, whenever we talk about the human journey, I can just feel it. And you feel the stuckness. And you start to see how we all have that. So let's do a self-check, a little self-check. How full is your well now? What do you believe about, what are your beliefs about yourself and the world? What is your unique collection of these beliefs? We all created a set of them. What are yours? You know, they're not the same as your parents or your neighbors or your friends. We created them on our own. I like to remember that, because later on in the story we get to do the opposite. You know, they're ours. We collected them. So how much pain and discomfort is your normal? How long can you sustain it, and how long do you want to sustain it? Do you see this in yourselves? Do you see it in your family and your tribe and society? The collected beliefs, some of them are just yours, and some are, you know, some are societal, some are global. But this is where the majority of people are hanging out, and so many of us are just living in trying to overcome our childhood wounds. We stay trapped in this made-up structure by unconsciously committing to that oscillation, unconsciously committed to stay wounded. And now when it's too painful to stay put, we seek relief. So when you're presented with a change of course, or when are you presented with a change of course? Anytime you get uncomfortable, right? So when are you forced to make a change? That's usually when you bottom out, when it's just too much pain. So here's the wake-up call. What most of us have not realized is that you cannot overcome this. There's nothing to overcome. You're not broken, and there's nothing to fix. We arrive at an opportunity to see the world differently.
Right? Arrive. We've arrived. We arrive. And so where are we arriving to? You know, it's the shift from the problem mindset into a creator mindset. And so this is widely known as an awakening. you wake up and you realize it's been rigged. You can't win that old structure. It's a hamster wheel. And so the only way to move towards your goals without sabotage is to just let go of the structure and create a new way. So you get off the wheel, get off the hamster wheel. And all of these stories of hesitation, giving away your power, thinking and believing that you're just not enough in whatever way, is simply not true. It's just not true. It's not that you're not a good enough hamster. It's about the wheel. So it's about accepting that the hesitations and woundings are just, they're just a part of all of us, part of a story that got us here now, and nothing more than that. It's a story. And these things, they're not the essence of who you are. They're just ideas. So being the predominant creator is about being happy with who you are right now, literally in every way. You're complete just the way you are, complete and perfect. So when you arrive at the wizard's gate, a shift in your perspective will happen. And you'll find yourself, just not worried about what other people think. You don't seek validation. You just go for what you love. You go for what you love rather than what completes you. So it's not an external thing that will complete you, make you whole, solve the problem. That belief, that one's misguided.
Oh my gosh, so misguided. Wow. And so where are we going? You must give yourself from within what you seek from outside yourself. You start looking inward bound as opposed to out into the universe. You look into your own heart, your own mind. You go inside. You do not need to be anything other than who you are to create everything that you desire. It's time to create. It's time to really dig in and create, to no longer problem solve and instead orientate from a place of power, our inner power. We start not giving it away and we begin to keep it. So are you going to shift into just going for what you love rather than trying to change yourself in order to someday get what you want? What if there was no way to get more love and admiration from others? What if there was no way to get more belonging, acceptance, and abundance? What if you had 100% and have it all right now? What would happen if you had it all right now? What would you do? What would that be like? Life keeps going. And then what? Now what? When there are no problems to solve, what do? You create. You make stuff. You'd be completely satisfied with where you are right now and with what you have right now.
Okay, Corey, this story is sounding so much better. It's starting to feel really good. Abraham Hicks calls that being in the vortex. Eckhart Tolle calls it being in the now. Chris Duncan calls it the wizard's gate. So what is in the way now of you having that? We can remove and treat all of that resistance. We can recode the resistance to have it now and open that wizard's gate to remove all the resistance to your desires. You can work with a coach. Coaches can help you see where you are on the path to becoming your own predominant creator identity. They can help you to remove resistance to living a life that you love so that you can choose what you want and actually get there. Shift your problems into challenges. Your wounding becomes your wisdom, and you reclaim the use and control of your own power.
I love that, Lara. And so then we arrive at the wizard's gate. And that is, right? It's the place, it's that psychological place of no resistance and no desire. So you're not avoiding, because avoidance is focusing on what you don't want. And you're not wanting, because when you desire, that's an awareness of lack. So you're no longer navigating your existence. You're just creating. So how do you become your own powerful creator? You dream the dream, and then you believe the dream, and then you dream again, and then you dream more. So you imagine it all. What's your heart story? Harvest the dream and set it into action. Make it so. So you ignite your imagination, clarify your vision, and you know your action. You can have it all now in the invisible first. You have it, you be it before you see it. So you be it in your mind and your heart first. And that'll manifest it into the now to see it.
So with this new lens to see the world, right? All of a sudden you're dreaming and you're feeling and you're emotionalizing and putting yourself into the idea that this dream has already come true and you're feeling it with everything you've got. We become capable of overcoming any circumstance in this new way, this new perspective, this new way of being. 100% content with the right now. Like the future isn't better than right now. Right now is where the power is. The future isn't here, right? From right now, we change the memories of the future because the power is now. The future is so not better than right now. You can feel the total abundance of all things right here, right now. It is finally time to stop this childish behavior, these old beliefs that we will eventually be better than we are now. When we fix this, we will achieve this. When I finally do this, then I will finally have that. And in so doing, we finally stop giving our power away and actually realize that we've always had it. We've never been without it. The power must be kept here in you. You know, it's yours. You use it. You choose to keep it and not give it away. No matter what is happening outside, you are now solid in your own gratitude. You're so grateful for your experience. And all of a sudden, these things start happening and you're proving to yourself that what's happening, this new focus is working for you. And the tribe around you starts responding to it as well. You're wounding. All of these things from the past, these hard things, all of a sudden makes sense. This is what we mean when your wounding becomes your wisdom. It was all of this learning, your wounding became so handcrafted and detailed and custom for your learning. And then it makes sense. It's like, okay, all of my pain became my empathy. All of my pain became my deep compassion for the human experience. Your journey becomes the perfect path for your learning now. You know, so you stop searching outside yourself and you start searching inside yourself. It comes from within. You create in alignment with who you really are. You be it first, and then you become it in all of your thoughts and imagination.
We be it first. This is what it is to have a magnetic mind. You must be it before you see it. This is when you're living from a creative orientation. It's when you already have it all. Now you're creating what you love every single day. You're living from that place. Your life events have nothing to do with who you are. You're just you. Now you are through the wizard's gate. This is when your thoughts become things. We've all heard that, you know, our thoughts can become things, but this is how it happens. And this is what it takes. Overcoming the moment and having it all now. Have it, even if you lose it. You make $1 million, that's so great. And you lose $1 million, it's all still great. I'm still me. You give yourself permission to have it all now, regardless of your circumstances. How you show up to your most successful day and your biggest failure is exactly the same. You're just you, and you feel the same internally. Your success and your failure just, they're not personal. Your self-worth is not tied to some external condition. You know, today in the world, so many people's realities are tied to the things happening around them, to external conditions, things they think that are happening to them. And coaching is really needed now. It's a work that's needed more than ever to help us to move into and stay in that creative orientation, to be in that magnetic mind and get to the wizard's gate.
Right. And so we live from a creative orientation. What is it to live from that creative orientation? The first thing is make true choices. Step into that end result and have it all now. Like you said, Lara, just have it. And your true choice, because you love it. No other reason, just because you love it. So to master the human journey, choose. I choose to be a powerful creator and have it all now. The journey is the now. And what a great life it really is. So once you have it all now, everything becomes easy. Turn thoughts into reality. You're the predominant creative force in life. And the problems, they just turn into challenges. And creation becomes a lifestyle. You're dreaming the next dream and the next. You have it all. You can manifest anything.
Wow. So there we are in the human journey. There it is, from the beginning, to back to the beginning again, right? The human journey. I love that when we first talked about this, in the definition of the human journey, when we arrive, in innocence, we learn hesitation, and then we learn empowerment. And I love that. That's really sweet. Wounding is not necessarily a dagger into your bloody heart. It's when we surrender our power to get something we want, and then we figure out that we no longer have to do that. We just keep our power and be the creator. And there's so many metaphors in our church teachings and in our stories and fables and parables from all cultures on the land about what this means. Everybody does it. Every culture has stories about the human journey. Joseph Campbell's hero journey is a similar version of the human journey, also beautiful. And one of these days, maybe we should dig that up and talk about that. That's a cool thing. I would
love that. That would be so fun.
Oh yeah, totally. So now we've kind of just dissected and unpacked the human journey, and I want to open it up to some ahas, but I also just want to just give a little, that day after tomorrow, we've got Genius Hub, which is our membership site. So those of you who are new to coaching, looking to maybe get a coach, this is our free group coming out to you guys. This is information. This is a gift from our hearts to invite you guys to come closer. And if you are a client looking for a coach, our membership site does that, where we actually get into the coaching and start digging a little deep. And our session day after tomorrow is we're going to dissolve conflicted parts. The session that honors the Magnetic Minds Masterclass Lesson 7, titled Dissolve Conflicted Parts. So those of you in Masterclass already or new to this, just joining us in Genius Hub, please run and go watch that video first, and then come see us day after tomorrow on Saturday. Excellent. All right, so I want to open up the circle to the room. Let's see, who in the room? All of you are welcome. Who's got some ahas or some takeaways or perhaps some questions for those of us in the room? Anybody? Who'd like to hear from you? Who wants to jump in? Go ahead and just unmic and pop in. We know it's out there. Who's going to go first? We want you to. Karen, yeah, go ahead and unmic. Hi, Karen.
I'll tuck my hand. How you doing? I found it really informative. How this is actually coming up a lot for me this week. Thank you. So yeah, it was really, really cool to be able to go back through that human journey and just get a really, I suppose, deeper understanding. It, you know, like the more that you do it, there's more layers that come out and more understanding. So that is really, really awesome. You know, I think, you know, training for me at the moment, and it's good, you know, and I really get that, you know, when we're kids, you know, we did give up our power. So like moving out of that shift, and I assume that's when those recodes come into play, and you know, to get into that orientation, because I like you try to get into that orientation and you kind of get, for me at the moment, I feel like I keep getting dragged back into the old patterns all the time. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, thank you. Very, really informative, and I loved all that. It's really great perspective.
Karen, it's lovely to have you back with us again. And yeah, we all do, you know, return to the human journey with our human experience. It's what we're here to do. It's part of how we grow, how we wake up. It's also how we support each other to stay on task. Yeah. Sarah.
Thank you.
I find that, you know, we can talk about it and it's clear to look at how it goes. It's not that, it's not, nobody's saying it's an easy thing, but it's coachable, and there are processes and there is support, and it really helps when you know that it is this human journey and you understand what's happening. You can be a lot easier and more compassionate with yourself. And you can say, oh, I need a hand with this one. I'm tripping back into a thing. And your coach and your community can support that.
Yeah. You know, the intellectual, you know, food, or maybe the brain nutrition around the teaching of this, I think is super important. You know, because we talk a lot about this. What are the silent instructions that we give ourselves? You know, like, you know, what do we hear in these silent instructions? So when we do this teaching, right, I think that there's an amazing instruction to our intellect as well as to our conscious and unconscious mind to say, oh, that's what's going on. There's my struggle. I see myself on the path, and I see that we've done some growing, I've done some evolution, and then you get to a place where you give yourself permission to go bigger, go a little deeper, try a little harder, and get there. You know, so when our thinking mind gets on the same team as our heart, our inner voice, our self-talk, things start falling in place. And I think the teaching, like just like when we do a teaching before a recode, what's going on there, same thing. We're letting the brain know what's going on so it doesn't fight back. Yeah.
Because it's so good at
anybody
fighting
else in the
back.
room? Yeah, indeed. Anybody else? Questions,
learning
comments?
about the human journey, it really neutralized my connection to particular stories that I have. You know, when we have pain, you know, we tell our stories, the stories of what happened to us, right? We tell those stories because we still have pain about them, right? And we're connected to them when we recycle them, but knowing that they all kind of connect back into these patterns helped me to stop being so connected to the stories and recognizing there's a pattern that can shift, you know, rather than this story that just gets cycled around over and over and over. It just sort of neutralizes that connection or disconnects those things, you know. So it's about the patterns, not about that particular story or anybody's particular stories. We all have them. We all have the patterns. We all have stories that happen because we have those patterns. But the stories aren't the important thing. You know, we can get really locked in on this happened to me. That person did this to me. I had this trauma, right? And this
And then that
whole-
becomes the justification.
it
That's
becomes the
big thing.
justification. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm living this way because I'm choosing this because, and everything, when you take a step back and look at it through this human journey lens, you can see that that's the loop.
Right.
And you don't need the justification and you don't need the because. You can just think about what would you like because you love it. And it is truly a complete orientation shift. You just turn in the direction of what it is you love instead of playing into that hamster wheel loop of justifying and because and reactivity and all those things. And yeah, seeing it laid out like this helps you. When you recognize it, it can help you catch yourself in those moments where you drop into habit and you forget.
Mhm. You know, there's
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff that we referred to in today's class that we didn't really go into because of our past episodes of Let's Talk and Genius Hub, like on our past episodes of like, what is structure? What is identity? You know, what's an emotional recode? What are the sabotaging identities? Right? What is it to use these things as tools? You know, so for those of you who are brand new with us this time, I know that this could seem like a lot.
Mhm.
You know, maybe a little even far-fetched, like what is all this glitter and unicorns and rainbows? I'm suffering right
Good
now.
point, Corey.
You know, and so I just wanted to give a little shout out to say, you know, there's a lot of information here and there's a lot of support around what we're talking about, you know, but the human journey is like, okay, can you find at least somewhere on the human journey where you think you're hanging out? Are you really embedded in, you know, being a victim to your circumstance, like the world's happening to you and you're powerless? Are you perhaps at a place where you're approaching this wizard's gate? You know, you can see that there's some healing engaged, but you're not done with some of this healing. You got a little more work to do. You don't quite believe it yet. You got to prove it to yourself still. Or maybe perhaps you've had some success and you're actually proving it to yourself. And now you're starting to create. And when that happens, the people in your inner circle start going, whoa, what are you doing? You look great. You're happy. You're thriving. I'll have what you're having. Make it a double. You know? Totally. That ripple then goes out. So today, you know, my message for you, my hope for you guys out there is, can you find where on the human journey that you're hanging out so that you can actually talk about and ask other people to help you see from outside? That's what a coach does. A coach is able to see from outside yourself, to see your blind spots, to help hold you accountable for something that you may or may not see, or to help hold you accountable for something you asked for, and then your old identity blipped it out with your old story, and your coach will say, yeah, remember, this was the dream. Let's come back to that. Yeah, so where are you on that path? Where are you on the path?
It almost seems too simple.
Hmm.
And that's kind of, I was struggling with that for a little bit. Like, it really, can it really just do, it's really that simple? And then like some of the things like, what does this mean? What does this part mean? What, you know, because on some level to me, it almost felt too new agey.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so the day before yesterday, I finished the Chris Duncan show #2, and he in there he mentioned Lynn McTaggart's book, The Field.
Yeah.
And so I downloaded that and the audiobook version, and I've gotten a couple hours into it, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Book is amazing. That is such a good book.
It's so many things are like coming together through that things make way more sense than they did before. I was a kid who would lay in bed and like wonder about quantum physics while not knowing about it. I was wondering about quantum physics. I would wonder, well, the universe doesn't end. Well, then what's on the other side of that?
Oh my
Like-
goodness, me too. Me too.
I was going to say,
But you know what, Lisa, to all of that, say it's almost too simple. Simple is not the same thing as easy.
mm,
Yeah.
True.
You know, there are some very simple structures that are not very easy to hold. They're not very easy to create. They're not very easy to stay in, but they could be simple in terms of, you know, we can sit here and say, okay, look, it's a big circle and you can either, you know, loop back around or go through the wizard's cave. And looking at it on paper, it's fairly simple, but the whole idea of us having this human experience, this human condition of living in this limited perspective where we're experiencing all of the polarity, the good and the bad and the right and the wrong, and we're living inside that, it's really hard to see the whole circle and the whole image. And once you see it, you know, it can't be unseen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was going to say it's like the orientation of the obvious when you get to a certain stage. When you feel that you've completed most of your childhood, you get to the point where action becomes obvious, because that's just how it is. If you're running by just going through your choices, but it's about being able to complete your childhood. And in each experience you have with people, it's an opportunity to finish off part of your childhood. And this course, the magnetic mind work, brings everything, like the field, every single piece of the latest science right to the surface, and it's usable. So you're working with the mobility of that and the superconscious. So it allows a faster process to finish your childhood. Because I've been finishing my childhood now for 5 bloody years and I'm sick of it. And I found this course and I've just been like fast track to finishing my childhood. So I feel very blessed. And so the mission is to give that to others, fast track to getting rid of all this stuff that's limited us, that's been useful at one point, but isn't useful anymore because it creates that. And so when it becomes obvious and you can get into the superconscious, it just becomes obvious that you have a potential to be exactly who you want to be, but it's a process. And so that really struck with me when you said the orientation. It's the orientation when you get to that point of the obvious. What comes up in that action becomes obvious. The next step, truth from your heart. That's what resonates. That was great. Thank
Janet,
you.
I love that.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love
I
fast
love
track.
the orientation of the obvious. What a cool string of
fast
words.
track.
Orientation of the obvious.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I thought I was the impatient therapist because I was sick of just hearing the same old stuff. So it was, let's get a fast track to this stuff. Let's move things forward. Come on, let's live the life. Let's live it now. Let's never mind it's going to happen tomorrow. Let's live it right now the best you can in every moment. So yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. This was
Tonight
lovely
on the
tonight.
impatient
That
therapist.
says it all right there. Let's get on to living the life we love. What's all this nonsense that we created?
Oh, awesome.
Love that. I love the energy of everything you just said. It was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Anybody else who hasn't had a turn to pop in with some little golden nuggets or ahas or questions? There's quite a few of us in the room today. Who else hasn't had a chance? Anybody want to pop? Oh yeah, we know you're there. Anybody else? All right. Well, that being said, this is Let's Talk, and this has been a really fun thing that we're doing, this series. And I got a quick question for the room. As we were preparing for today, we didn't choose a topic for next week's Let's Talk. And so I thought I'd just throw it out to the room to say, hey, tribe, hey, people who are following us around, our groupies, what would you like us to talk about next week? Anybody have any suggestions?
It's a great idea, Corey.
You've got some questions on, or what are you working on? How can we help you out? What would you like us to unpack and dig into and talk about? Anybody? Anybody?
Well, we can leave
All
that
right.
question
Okay.
open if you
It
guys
might
want.
be. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
Unwanted
Yeah.
consequences. Ooh,
Unwanted consequences. Ooh, there's some that we could think about. Who said that? Carla said that. Thank you, Carla.
Wanted.
Unwanted consequences. Okay, well, let's put that on the deck and see what we come up with. We'll see what happens.
we could dig into that one. Yeah.
Unwanted consequences. Ooh, dang, what are we gonna do with that? That's a fun one to think about.
Unintended, unwanted.
Mhm.
Unintended, unwanted.
All right, well, then let me ask, what is the opposite of unintended consequences? What would be the opposite?
Consequences?
Mhm.
Intended consequences?
Well, what's the opposite of consequence?
Reward?
This is how I start to unpack things. This is my brain goes, it's like, okay, well, how do I figure it out in my mind? Well,
Why
what
don't
does
we
the opposite mean? Yeah, cool. All right, well, that'll give us some things to think about for sure.
We have some other responses here.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, true choices,
Silent messages. Ooh,
how to clear up true choices. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
part of
now
the string.
we
Silent
did dig into true choices on episode 6, which is in our YouTube channel.
Yep.
So we did about an hour into true choices, but we didn't dig in that angle, Rebecca. So now I'm feeling like circling back around with.
Unwanted consequences in true choices? Is that what you're thinking, Sarah?
Yeah, identifying consequence of true choice, or, well, that's just calling up for me. You don't have control over everything. You can manifest for your highest good, but you don't get to be the predominant creator of other people's lives.
Right.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
I'm
See,
liking that.
that's a fun one.
Actually, I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yep. Well, Connor threw in understanding resistance, and there's definitely some talk about some works that we've done on resistance, and there's some coming up on resistance as well. So Connor, we hear you, and we're doing some more of that. And we've done
Absolutely.
some already. Yeah, we hear you on that.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well,
use
I'm
the
so
word
glad I
resistance
asked.
a lot.
I'm so glad I asked.
That was a great idea,
Well,
Corey.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Just see
Well,
what's
right on,
needed.
everybody. Well, I just wanted one last chance for questions, comments, ahas, takeaways, and wins before we wrap it up. Anybody else? Okay.
Oh, I want to keep reading here. Things are coming in. And how to stand in true choice no matter what. I love that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Right?
Yep. Trust and
Okay.
stay in the vibration of
And,
love.
getting out of that problem solving, like there's a really fine line between problems, that resistance and that problem solving.
We'll definitely come back to
I
that.
haven't got the wording for
We talk about that
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
You know,
It's messing with my head at the moment.
How to stay focused on the end result. I'm
Mhm.
writing these down.
yeah.
We saved the chat.
Well, good. Well, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and button up the recording, but we can go on and stay and chat afterwards. Thanks, everybody, for coming out to Let's Talk with Magneticore today.
Thank you so much.
All right, Kim, if you'd be so kind as to shut us down for the day.